The city of New Orleans is literally sinking. Presently, New Orleans is the largest population center in the United States at risk for sea level rise, verging on experiencing the highest rate of sea level rise in the world. At its current rate, the state is already losing up to 25 square miles of land per decade. But why is this? The earth below New Orleans is extremely saturated and does not sit on a solid foundation. Recent studies have shown that Louisiana is losing about a football field of sinking land every hour, which makes the state extremely vulnerable to an increased rate of sea level rise in the future. Drainage systems are meant to channel excess water from the streets and into the sea and rivers, but with the pressure from rising sea levels and higher tides, the water is pushed through pipes and into streets.
New Orleans and the low-lying cities right along the Gulf. Dangerous flooding, and as Ginger just said, storm surge is likely. And this question tonight, are the pumps ready in New Orleans?
We're going to flood. I know we're going to flood. That's why I'm here. Otherwise, I'll be still at the office right now.
In New Orleans, they're especially worried. A dozen of the city's drainage pumps that they need to keep the city dry aren't working tonight.
This fact alone affects the amount of people in this area who choose to own homes and have a mortgage. Say you took out a 30-year mortgage. In that time, you would experience 100-year floods 10 times more frequently. Why own a home when you know it'll be destroyed imminently? There's also the added risk of more intense storms due to a warmer ocean and atmosphere. In August of 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit Louisiana as a Category 3 hurricane. The storm and its aftermath is ranked the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history.
The vast majority of New Orleans, Louisiana is underwater. Tens of thousands of homes and businesses are beyond repair.
Storm surges reaching almost 28 feet high completely engulfed homes and destroyed infrastructure. To make matters worse, the levee system that held back the waters of the lakes surrounding New Orleans completely failed. The 10 inches of rain and Katrina storm surge ultimately overwhelmed the structure due to the pressure and water buildup, costing about $165 billion in damages. Katrina claimed nearly 1,400 lives, not only because of the storm, but how it was handled by officials. While 1.2 million people were able to leave the city via car, tens of thousands of residents could not or would not leave. They stayed at home either because the severity was not communicated to them properly or because they didn't have the means, either a car or any sort of public transportation. In the aftermath, there was a shortage of food, water, and a huge absence of sanitation. The problems continued to worsen, and unfortunately more people continued to die even after the storm. Between 2005 and 2011, New Orleans lost nearly 29% of its original population, leaving behind abandoned property and declining infrastructure. That number was still high at 20% in 2020. New Orleans is still affected today and will continue to be affected for years to come. This is simply because of a disaster that never should have gotten so bad, i.e., bad infrastructure, bad communication, and an overall disregard for human well-being and lower-class families. What is being done about this problem today? A decade after the storm, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers acknowledged the construction flaws presented during Katrina. They also evaluated what areas were considered flood zones, as many were not listed to receive heavy damages. So far, the defenses have held against Hurricane Ida, a Category 4 storm which hit close to the city in August of 2021. There are many other examples of flood-resistant and storm surge design. On Staten Island, SCAPE and Stantec are taking a more natural approach, stating that designing with nature can lead to more resilient shoreline communities. Infrastructure like bio-enhanced armor blocks and designed sand-capped dunes with stone cores not only provide protection to the surrounding communities, but also provide a home for nearby marine and wildlife. Quote, "This project is not just about breakwaters, but a layered approach to reduce risk and foster local cultures of resilience." On a smaller scale, and in the heart of New Orleans, the Float House by Morphosis is changing design beyond government infrastructure. It is a low-income housing project with the ability to be mass-produced with prefabricated components. A single unit of expanded polystyrene foam, coated in glass fiber reinforced concrete, rises on a guidepost during severe flooding. This can also be adapted to the needs of flood zones worldwide. Overall, there is a growing need for flood-resistant design around the world. As storms, surges, and climate change continue to worsen, it is important to continue to develop these ideas. It is also extremely important to spread the positive influence of adaptive design. That is the role of a designer or an architect, to protect the health, safety, and well-being of the public, but also to improve their quality of life.